Hello and welcome. I'm Yvonne Davis, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about an astronomical alignment called the Christmas star, and I'm going to explain what it relates to astrologically. So before we go to that, I just want to say real quick that if you're new to my channel, please click the red button down there in the corner and subscribe. And also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the upcoming series of videos I'm going to do on the next 12 years of power. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, I did post a 50-minute video to my Patreon channel. It's there now if you want to see it. Just head on over there to Patreon and you'll get exclusive videos and gifts. And you can come to the group Zoom session on Friday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And one more thing is if you're willing to go over to my Financial Freedom channel and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I'm getting super close to 1,000 now. Thank you so much for everyone who's helped me get that far. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't done that, there's a link in the description box below, pinned to the top of the video at the end, and I'll put one above. Super easy to get there. Just click. You're done. It's free and you can support me in my work, and I really appreciate that. All right, so let's see here. Let's talk about the Christmas star. And this is an astronomical phenomenon. Basically, what it is when Jupiter and Saturn conjoin, okay? And this hasn't happened this powerfully in 800 years. And so it's a very rare configuration. And as I was doing some research, I discovered that it appears to happen more often when Jupiter and Saturn conjoin in Aquarius. For some reason, conjoining in Aquarius just seems to make it so much brighter. Because basically the planets are closer to the Earth, so they look brighter than when they're smashed together like that in a conjunction. It makes a super bright star. And it also refers to the other, oh, let me go ahead and pull that up for you because I want to make sure that you see this. This is the reference to the Star of Bethlehem. So it's partly because of the fact that Jupiter and Saturn conjoin, they're so bright in the sky. And in Aquarius, they're brighter than, apparently brighter than in any other sign. But what's interesting, I think that this actually has the addition of Venus in Aquarius, which is really interesting because we're definitely coming up on this. So this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius happens on the winter solstice. That's December 21st, 2020. That might be part of it too, because it's, you know, the day when we move from the shortest period of light and the light begins to return. So it might have something also to do with the fact that it's the shortest day of the year, that the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn is so incredibly bright. So, and that's also partly why it's called the Christmas star. Okay, so I just want to show you the astrological charts so that you can understand, you know, like there's this connection between this astronomical configuration and it has an astrological meaning. So I'm going to pull up that chart and show you that. Okay, so let's go have a look at that. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius at 0 degrees. This is extremely powerful. And this definitely relates to what I'm talking about in the series that I'm doing, the next 12 years of power in the US. And so I think I mentioned that, yeah, I'm sure I've mentioned it many times. I've already posted a 50-minute video on Patreon. But what I had to do was I wanted to get that information onto my YouTube channel, but I had to cut it into smaller pieces. And I found that in order to do that, I actually had to teach myself how to use an editing program. I've never used an editing program. So this is like a new thing for me. But, you know, that's what happens with new moon eclipses, that something new comes, and it's already starting. And so anyway, the series is going to be at least half a dozen videos, possibly more, because what we have been seeing is basically a 2,000-year cycle. Okay, I'm going to talk about the next 12 years of power and what's coming, but it relates all the way back to a 2,000-year cycle. And so you can see that Jupiter, Saturn in Aquarius on the winter solstice. And it definitely does relate back to the Star of Bethlehem. Now, there's another chart that I want to show you, because I do think that bringing Venus in is going to make it even more powerful, that because then you have Venus, which is the brightest star in the heavens, conjunct Jupiter, and Saturn's very close by too. And with the moon there, it's moving into a new moon. So I think the moon won't be very bright. So it shouldn't be diminishing the light of the Jupiter-Venus conjunction. And Saturn is pretty close to that. So I think we're going to get something similar to a Star of Bethlehem around this time with this Aquarius stellium. So this is really exciting, because I think it's nice to see that, you know, like the stuff isn't just abstract, you know. I mean, it literally, everything is connected, you know. It's like, I don't know, I want to go back to that image of the Star of Bethlehem, because I just think that it's so symbolic. And so yeah, we're in a historical time right now. And we're definitely in a 2,000-year cycle. Something incredibly powerful is coming. Well, for one thing, we're shifting into the age of Aquarius, which is a 2,000-year cycle. So so this time that goes back to the story of the Christ coming into the world. And basically, as I've said many times on this channel, the Christ spirit is unconditional love. Okay. And it's this also this understanding of that the power that was put outside of us, in terms of, you know, the gods outside of us, there was a man. This is, whether you agree with the story or not, it doesn't matter, because there's an archetypal mythology. So you can believe it really happened, or you don't have to believe it really happened. It doesn't matter. Either way, whether it actually happened or it's just a story, it still has archetypal mythological meaning, which means that the God that was outside of us, all the God power that was outside of us, came into and incarnated in a man. So unconditional love, agape, divine love, it incarnated in a human being. Okay, that's a massive shift in consciousness. Massive. I mean, just mind-boggling. Like, this didn't exist before. You know, this idea didn't exist before. And yes, it takes a lot of time to really get through into the consciousness of humanity. It took 2,000 years, basically. Now we're making another shift. And I don't know exactly where it will lead in the next 2,000 years, but we are definitely in a powerful shift in consciousness in humanity right now. As powerful as the idea that the power of the gods outside of us could actually incarnate in a human being. That was an absolutely monumental shift in consciousness that happened 2,000 years ago. And we are at the next shift, the next massive shift of consciousness. So this is just, to me, it's mind-boggling. And I love the fact that it, you know, that there's this actual astronomical phenomenon that corresponds to the evolution of human consciousness, the light. You know, the Star of Bethlehem, the light, and it represents the consciousness, the expansion of consciousness in the human being. And so what's happening right now is so mind-boggling that as you're watching this video, there is no way you can even begin to fathom how mind-boggling this is. I mean, if you can just wrap your mind around the fact that we are in a shift of consciousness so profound that when you think back 2,000 years, that's when the calendar actually started. That's how profound it was. We count time back to this time, this moment in time. That's how mind-boggling it is. And I know that the story represents the idea of the birth of Christ. And the calendar, I think, actually maybe starts at the moment of death. But because of the fact that we're not actually talking about that person's human life, we're talking about a shift in consciousness. And so really this is it, that moment when I do believe there was a Jupiter, Saturn, Venus conjunction in Aquarius. And Aquarius, the next sign next to Aquarius is Pisces. So it was probably right there at the cusp. I wasn't able to look on my astrological program because it doesn't go back that far. So I went back as far as it could, which was to the year, it was Christmas, or maybe it was December 21st, the year 0, and it couldn't go back any farther than that. So I wasn't able to see that. But just because I know how long it takes for things to go around the zodiac, when I looked, I was like, yep, it looks like that's what it was. Jupiter, Saturn, Venus conjunction in Aquarius, probably on the cusp of Pisces. So these are the 3 magi, which is also important because 3 is a magical number. And they were the magi, the magicians. And back then, what that word meant, well, they were wise men, okay, wizards. And, you know, the reason why the word wizard, which is simply wise man, or the word sorcerer, which simply means someone who's connected to the source, or magician, which is just someone who is capable of making things happen, these people were revered, but then later they were feared. And the reason why they were feared was because the powers that be did not want any competition for their no competition. Let's make those the bad guys. Okay. So then all of a sudden, you know, they were turned into the magi, who originally were the 3 wise men who came and brought gifts for the Christ, the birth of Christ on earth. They were originally the good guys, but then they were turned into the bad guys because they were, you know, there was this competition for power, and those who control wealth and power don't want that competition. So suddenly then later, the whole idea was, you know, that they were minions, and the wizards and sorcerers and, you know, magi, the magicians, they're all minions of Satan. Well, how come they're here? There were, you know, there were the wise men who recognized and saw the Star of Bethlehem and followed it to the Christ, to the incarnation of the Christ spirit in a human being. And that is an archetypal mythological story. It literally doesn't matter if it really happened or if it's just an abstract way of understanding the consciousness, the evolution of consciousness in the human mind, in the human being. Could be either, could be both. But it definitely represented the expansion and evolution of consciousness in the human being. So I don't want this to get too long, but I hope you were fascinated by that. It really is mind-boggling. I mean, when you really wrap your mind around it, it almost makes your brain explode inside your skull. That's how amazing it is. All right, so I'm going to bring this to a close. And again, if you haven't yet subscribed, please click on the red button and subscribe to my channel. And if you're willing to do me a favor, just go on over to the Financial Freedom. There's links down below in the description box and pinned to the top of the comments. And I don't think I can put another one. I can only do that once, but then there will be one at the end of this video. So you can easily click on the multicolored diamond and just go click, click, go over there and click on subscribe. Takes only a few seconds. It's totally free and it will make so much difference to me, because as soon as I reach 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, I can monetize it and then I can get paid for my work. So thank you so much. And I will see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.